Welcome all to our live stream film breakdown / celebration for Florida State's signing of another big tight end transfer in the Shorter commit. So Shorter's a D2 school who's not high on my priority list since they were kind of our in-state rivals for my undergrad, but our in-city rivals, I guess. But tell me more about this Kyle Morlock kid. Why should we be excited about what he brings to Florida State?
Yeah, so he's a tight end. We know how much Florida State and Mike Norvell love tight ends. I would welcome everybody to go back through the X's and O's videos, and there is a great one that Kev did on two tight end offense that Mike Norvell utilized
Yeah,
quite a bit
back
at
in the day, that was
Memphis.
a few years back.
Yeah, that was an older video, but yeah, I would highly recommend everybody go back and check that out. So Morlock, Kyle Morlock, he's from Blairsville, Georgia, out of Union County High School, Shorter University. Um,
Yep.
6'7", 245 pounds. He's listed as a sophomore, so I would assume he'll be a junior here next year. It's a really good take. He entered. Gosh, I think he's been in the portal for 2.5 weeks, maybe almost 3, and immediately he got offers from LSU, Tennessee, Florida State. Colorado was trying to get him on campus this week.
Yeah, they were.
Auburn was trying to get him on campus. He quickly became quite a big top priority for anybody looking for a tight end prospect. He became one of the top ones in the portal immediately. Obviously, Jaheim Bell was the other top portal tight end. We know how desperate this program was for tight ends. Shout out Cam McDonald, who exhausted his eligibility, was a fine player here. Certainly gave it his all, but they were looking to upgrade the athleticism, the consistency, some of the duality of the position, guys that can block, guys that could also run routes, catch the football, be multiple weapons at the position. So it seems like they've gone and done that. We're going to take a look at some tape of Morlock. I've seen some people calling him Warlock. I don't know if that's like a nickname that's catching on or what, but it's interesting. So, Kev, what are your thoughts of the tape, Kev?
Yeah, I think you got to be excited. There's just so many weapons on this offense. It's insane. To be honest with you, if you look at just the skill position, it's championship caliber. Just if you're just looking at the skill position, what they've built on this offense, if you can get Johnny Wilson back, you're frankly working with just an insane amount of talent between Jordan Travis, what you have at wide receiver, and these two guys you brought in at tight end, let alone being able to hand the ball off to Trey Benson. But we'll talk more about how that all kind of comes together on the chalkboard later. Let's first kind of take a look at his film. All right. So I'm kind of covering AB's face here, but all right.
Okay.
So this is why people like him so much. That number right there, the 6'7", 245. That's a big kid. I don't care if you're playing D3, D1, D2.
He looks
I don't
it
care if
too.
you're
Like
at shorter college.
when you see him moving around, like it looks legit. I mean, that's a thick body kid, and he hasn't even been in a D1 weight program. So,
Yep. And Shorter couldn't be less of a school. Let me tell you this: Shorter as a university is falling apart. The fact that he's able to be this talented at a place that has threatened to shut down multiple
let's run it back
times.
to the beginning there because that first play was actually a good one.
Yeah, this little pop pass.
Yeah, it's a little pop pass. He does a nice job. He sets the route up. He stems outside, gets the backer to widen, then is able to come back underneath of it, and then it makes a nice high point play on the football.
Yeah, this is a great catch.
This play is nice. It doesn't impress me as much. It's nice to see him be able to catch the ball in the open field.
Yeah, it's hard to get a gauge for kind of the speed difference between a D2 and D1 kind of program. I mean, he looks good out in space here at 6'7". I mean, but just between him and Johnny Wilson, having 6'7" dudes running down the field is hard
Another
to
pop
stop.
pass here, which is nice. Makes you wonder if that's something they're going to look to incorporate into the playbook.
Yeah, it's something that they went to a few times, but not very much this season. There's one play. I guess they did more kind of seams down the middle with.
So this is a nice technical play here. You see him use his body. This kind of reminds me of like old school, for those who remember him, old school like Jay Novacek. Some of those older tight ends. They really Tony Gonzalez. Obviously, I'm not comparing him to Tony Gonzalez.
You're saying
Hall of
he's
Fame
Tony
tight end, but
Gonzalez.
you get an opportunity to see him use his body, use his size, box his defensive back out.
Yeah, so he does a good job stemming this route. So I guess this isn't really a stem. He does a good job kind of selling this out route to cut it back inside using his body, like you're saying.
He gets the D back on his back on his backside and is able to box him out and come back underneath and make present a big target to his quarterback. Just it shows some technical acumen.
Yeah, and that's what's going to happen even at the D1 level. There just aren't safeties that are big or strong enough to kind of be able to take a body from a 6'7" tight end. That's a skill set that transfers to the next level. We got the real wide angle.
I can't see anything.
Yeah, it looks like he tackles him.
think he's blocking in the run game, but who knows?
Here he's out wide.
Yeah, you get a chance to see him blocking. That's a nice finish
against a D2 strong safety. That's just not fair. Oh yeah, that's nice.
Nice athleticism.
So just notice he just stonewalls this kid.
Mm-hmm.
This kid comes full force into him and just doesn't give up any ground.
Then he drives him.
The finish, yep.
Yeah.
That's one thing you see consistently with the kids that this program's been bringing in is they're finishers. When they block, they bring the person to the ground.
All right. So seen him line up in line, seen him line up as an H-back. So Shorter moved him around.
Yeah, they used him in the slot too, so we just saw that. Oh no. Oh, that kid got mossed.
Well, they got it. Yeah,
this is nice.
He's got ball skills. He's got ball skills for sure.
So he's running like a seam route, like a little post seam. He notices that the quarterback enters a scramble drill, so he adjusts his route to make life easier on the quarterback, finds open space. This is just a high IQ football play.
Yeah.
I don't think it's written up for him to have to.
No, I don't think that's the design of the play.
But he made it easier on his quarterback, and then he goes up and gets it. Man, he high points these balls, and for a 6'7"
he really
kid,
does.
Yeah. When was the last time you saw someone run a tunnel screen for a tight end?
6'7" tight end.
Yeah, that's insane.
The Blue Chicken asked, "Is he better than Douglas?" I think the potential exists. Yeah.
Is he better than Marcus and Douglas?
Yeah.
They're different players.
They're different players, but I think the potential either way, he has the potential to be better.
Yes,
see how Biscuit keeps developing though. I mean, like, not gonna lie. I mean, he's got a chance to be a decent player too.
He does, but
I don't think his upside is high. But
if Biscuit entered the transfer portal tomorrow, he's not getting calls from all the schools that Morlock got calls from.
Yeah, I agree. 6'7", 245, just it plays different.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with Johnny Wilson. Johnny Wilson's 6'7". Just having that size means that. I mean,
running the new school waggle.
Want to see that again? All right, we got some waggle. Just some
new school waggle.
No one runs waggle anymore.
They should. Best play in football.
Better than the Buck series?
Well, it's part of the Buck series.
Oh, is it really?
Mm-hmm.
That was just a wild guess.
Shame.
All right. Yeah, there he
blocking.
is.
He's just obliterating people.
Yeah. Defender kind of turned his shoulders and he's able to smother him. Yeah, I think you gotta love what you're seeing here. And this is a 7-minute highlight tape of him just. I think we're getting more blocking here. Yeah, here he is out in
I
front of the
mean, that's
screen.
something he's going to have to prove, right?
Yep, that's something that's hard to guess if it's going to translate to the next level. We can look at him mossing 6-foot tall wide receivers and running clean routes and having football IQ, but the blocking is really the question mark at the next level. Is he able to anchor and to block as well? Yeah, that was nice. All right, seam up the middle. Yeah, no, I don't know how much more we need to watch this because I think that the skills just kind of speak for themselves. So, what are the things that stand out most? Let's kind of summarize your thoughts on this, AB. What, like, when you say Kyle Morlock, what are the traits that you're thinking he brings to the Division I level that translates over?
Body control. I think just his overall general athleticism, seeing the way he moves, like he's very fluid. There's not a lot of 6'7" guys. Sometimes they can look a little clunky. He is just very smooth. The way he moves, that one play we saw him box that guy out. He's just so smooth. Everything is just natural. It doesn't seem to be a lot of wasted steps, a lot of wasted motion. But I think he's a natural hand catcher. Like he seems to catch the ball very clean, doesn't force it. What about you, Kev? I mean, that's 3. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you gotta like the height. You gotta like the fluidity. I think he's so if you've got this kind of spectrum between where a wide receiver is and where a tight end is, and there's like a line right in the middle. I think on the wide receiver side, you have Johnny Wilson, who's a wide receiver, but is pretty close to that center point. And I think Kyle Morlock is kind of his mirror image right on the other side
Mm-hmm.
as a tight end. He's someone that I mean, he's long, he's tall. It'll be interesting to see how his blocking and his overall speed translates, but his fluidity, his movement, that box out route that we highlighted earlier has to be my favorite play of his because I think
Yeah,
it shows a acumen that will translate. I know that that translates to the NFL. Jason
yeah,
Witten had a 20-year career
yep,
doing that exact move. You put an extra 10, 15 pounds on him, he'll be able to do that against NFL players.
yeah,
So this is you got to be stoked about this.
yeah. I agree.
So let's before we get into the blackboard, I have one more kind of question for you. Compare and contrast his skill sets to what they just signed to Jaheim Bell and maybe what they also have in Biscuit, who we were talking about earlier, Marcus Dunn Douglas.
Oh, all right. So Jaheim Bell, and declare they haven't signed Jaheim Bell yet. He's just committed. There will be a whole. I don't think portal prospects sign. They just show up. They enroll. So I want to make sure people aren't like, oh, he signed a paper. Like he could still decide to go somewhere else. Don't think that's going to happen, but just want to make sure that's out there. So as far as difference, like I think Jaheim Bell is a hybrid wide receiver. Like I think that's what I would classify him as. He's the new school offensive weapon that everybody's wanting to find. You see them trying to find it with Deebo Samuel. Everybody's trying to emulate that.
Would you
see that with Deebo Samuel? That's what he is. He's a guy you could put on any position, any part of the field, and he's going to be a threat. Biscuit, I think Biscuit is a classic inline blocking tight end. He's a guy that's going to be able to run some routes. You're going to be able to get him on some crossers, that kind of stuff. He's still developing. So I don't know if we know necessarily what Biscuit is at this point, because I think he's only been playing tight end for 2 years, 3 years now. 2019, I think, was his first year really playing tight end, and that was at high school. And then 2020, he comes to Florida State. He's not available that whole year. 2021 was a developmental year, and then this year he finally got some reps and really got thrust into a prominent role. So I don't know if we can define what he is yet. But as far as Morlock, I think Morlock is your old school tight end. big, big physical, going to be able to box guys out, going to get guys on his back hip, high point the ball, be that old school basketball type that can just go out there and make plays. So I think in Bell, you've got a guy that you can flex all over the place and do a lot of stuff with. Morlock, you've got a guy you're going to be able to play a couple spots. I think you can move him out wide, let him be a blocker. But I think his role is going to be more defined inside the box, hand in the dirt, three back, that H back role. And they're going to do that. They want to do that kind of stuff with him. Let him be a little more classical. And then Biscuit, I think Biscuit's going to play in the 3-point stance predominantly.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I kind of had I'm not big into the NFL, so Deebo Samuel doesn't like ring bells for me. Brevin Jordan, kind of a similar role for
Miami guy. Really?
He was good though. Who was that kid that Florida had a couple years ago?
Florida? Kyle Pitts?
Yeah, Pitts. Like a Pitts type player?
Kevin, you're killing me, dude. You're killing me.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So I think I agree with those assessments. Bell you can use anywhere on the field. Morlock is a guy that's going to be a traditional in and out tight end, and then Biscuit's like a left tackle that can run routes.
Yeah. I'm gonna bring a good friend of ours in. He's gonna stay with us for a little bit. I'm gonna bring him in here now because I actually want his thoughts because he's banging his head on the keyboard.
He probably hates the Kyle Pitts and Brevin Jordan.
I like the Kyle Pitts one more than Brevin Jordan, just because Kyle Pitts is much better than Brevin Jordan. But
Brevin Jordan was pretty good.
He was all right.
And he put up like 60 points on Florida State.
He's all right. I don't think you can talk about Jaheim Bell as a tight end because I don't think that's what he is. Yeah, I mean they may have that designation next to him on the depth chart, but he's going to be so much more than that. Like,
I think that's
when
fair.
you start talking about lining guys up and running jet sweeps with them, you're not a tight end. Come on.
You know who he kind of reminds me of? Is it Debo's like? I guess the build isn't all that
they're
different.
He and Antonio Gibson are almost to a T same size.
Who was I trying to compare to Antonio Gibson? I was trying to compare Hakeem Williams to Antonio Gibson. By the way, hi guys. And I don't think anyone liked that comparison that much. You know who kind of reminds me of Jaheim Bell is a more athletic. He was the NC State gadget guy. He's now with the Pittsburgh. Jalen Samuel, does that sound right?
Yeah, yep.
A more athletic, like he's more to the wide receiver side of the spectrum Kevin was talking about, rather than like a fullback tight end. Like kind of that guy you can play 3 or 4 different spots, and it's going to give defenses quite a headache.
But I think Morlock, is almost in a similar category. Yeah, you can play him at tight end, and they probably will, but he's closer to Johnny Wilson than he is to a traditional tight end. In the sense of he's a guy that's a good pass catcher, runs routes, isn't a huge, big, thick-bodied guy more than he's a tall guy. So you can put him at X receiver and have him run go routes kind of alone on the opposite side of trips, and you're not going to be killed.
And I think FSU is going to end up using Kyle Morlock in that kind of similar fashion that you mentioned, Kev. Like they're going to be able to put him all over the place, and they do that with their tight ends anyways. But now I think we're just seeing the level of athleticism in the room elevate, and so like that'll cast a really positive light on the position group. Whereas you've had to kind of use guys in very specific roles, and you line Preston Daniel out in the slot. That wasn't ideal. He's more of an inline blocker. That was his role, and he's serviceable at that, and that's fine. But now you have a guy who you put him in as an inline blocker, but if you want to split him out and that you run tempo and you want to put him out as a wide receiver or a flex tight end or an H-back. The idea of what FSU can do with his opening scripts alone now with Morlock and Bell it's really exciting.
Yeah. They're just going to be able to build upon all kinds of stuff. Brendan and I were texting a little bit earlier, and we were talking about usage in general. And I just think it's exciting as much of in the new style of football is 4 wide, 5 wide. Like they legitimately are going to be able to line up in 13 personnel. That's 1 running back and 3 tight ends. And use Jaheim Bell as a wide receiver and run him on jet sweeps and do that stuff, they're really going to be able to get teams into base defenses with 3 linebackers on the field and get all those nickel backs off and kind of have a field day, I think.
Yeah, you saw them kind of do this a lot this year, where they would bring in the 2 tight ends into these kind of sets, and then you kind of force the defense to get heavy, because if they're going to keep this guy, so modern defenses put him as a true coverage guy. He's a nickel corner, what he's often called. I mean, that's your Kevin Knowles or your Greedy Vance, if you're a Florida State fan. But when you have these 2 and sometimes 3 tight end sets, like, well, now this guy can't be a coverage guy. So you have to put in your backup, your 3rd linebacker. So like for Florida State, it would be like taking out a Kevin Knowles because you need to get heavier. You need to put in like an Amari Gainer or someone who isn't a traditional starter necessarily, but you're kind of forcing these teams that want to go light, that want to sit in these tight fronts, that want to be able to have all these hybrid defenders on the field. Well, now these hybrid defenders are having to tackle in the box, and
on top of that, Kev, what excites me the most is you get into 13 personnel, and now you're just asking secondary players to make tackles all the time. So
you're
running outside zone, and you're asking DBs to make plays, and you're getting a Jaheim Bell, or you're getting a Trey Benson or a Micah Pittman, whoever. You're getting them one-on-one with corners, and I think that's a battle you're willing to think you're going to win if you're Florida State.
I mean, this isn't really how this would work. I'm just kind of manning up people, but like in essence, either this corner or this safety has to now come up and make a tackle. And if you want to get even heavier, you want to put a thumper in at safety. Well, now they've got to match up with Kyle Morlock running down the field or Jaheim Bell running down the field. And not many teams have that safety that can do that.
All the while, you're trying to double cover Johnny Wilson on the backside.
Yep.
Because you're forced to keep a safety over the top because he'll kill you if you don't.
Right. So, yeah. Say you want to have this extra safety act as almost a linebacker. Well, yeah. Now you really want to trust this corner in man coverage. Yeah. That's a nightmare.
I mean, the possibilities are endless with what they've now found themselves building with the tight end room. Brendan, while we got you here, we're going to maybe talk. Maybe you're going to give us a little bit of recruiting scoop before you got a great show at 9:00 on Noles 24/7 YouTube channel. Make sure you guys stay around. Trey and Zach are going to be talking for a little while. Brendan's going to be there popping in and out. They're just going to be talking all the goings on of recruiting. If you're not a member of Noles 24/7, please go become one. If you're not following the Noles 24/7 YouTube channel, make sure you get over there and subscribe and turn your notifications on so that you get an opportunity to watch that. But they've already got a ton of guys in the tight end room as it is. I mean, do we think that this is going to lead to some defections, like some guys finding their ways out? I mean, I know Bell's 1 year. Bell's got 1 year and he's out. Right?
He actually has 2 if he wants it. I don't think that's the. I don't think that's his intention.
Yeah, probably not the plan. But Morlock's going to be a junior, right?
Yes, I believe so. He'll be a 4th.
So he's got junior. 3, maybe 8 years. Who knows? Who knows anymore? Without
we're almost past the 2020 year, like throwing a wrench in math and stuff. We're almost there, but not quite yet. Let's see.
So do you feel like there's the potential for some guys to find their ways out the door?
I'm pulling up my roster projection counter nerdiness right now. So
not
you guys
that we know anything's imminent, but
no,
you have to think that naturally you bring 2 guys in, 1 guy left already, Cam McDonald, who exhausted his eligibility, that somebody's probably going to go.
Don't forget YY, I think is
YY
moving
Shout
on.
Out to YY.
Let's try his hand as a specialist in the NFL.
As he should.
I mean, those guys actually could. There's a decent chance he can make a roster at some point or another. But let's talk about. This isn't about my love affair with Wyatt Rector. This is about the tight end room projecting it forward. Yeah, we got Marcus and Douglas. You guys, I think, discussed pretty accurately and well like what he could be and what he's developing into, and like what this the addition of these other two tight ends going to do for him. So no need to get into that. Brian Courtney, they really do like. He was a true freshman this year. I think he's actually someone who's a strong candidate to kind of jump into the Wyatt Rector role on special teams, like with the kickoff coverage, using him as that up back. Because again, that's a tight end size with a lot of athleticism who played quarterback in high school. So I think Brian Courtney's role will continue to expand, try to get him more involved in the offense. Terrell Powers. I guess the two names that I would say that have a chance to maybe defect if you're talking about 6 tight ends in that room, or I guess 7 if you're counting Preston Daniel on scholarship, it would be potentially Preston Daniel if he wants to go to a more established role at a different school. And then Jackson West is just someone who injury bug this year, was not able to get healthy. I think Jackson West just wouldn't shock me if he ended up becoming the odd man out. It's just too bad because there's a lot to like about Jackson West, but just inconsistent spring going into second year and then the injury. I mean, that we'll see there, but that's probably the name that stands out to me the most. That would make the most sense.
And we don't want to speculate that anybody is leaving because it's not fair to them, but it's natural to talk about. You bring 2 guys into the position where they predominantly only play 1 or 2. That some guys are going to go because there's been a lot of numbers added there over the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's 214 people in here right now. There's probably going to be 600 and some, hopefully, at 9 o'clock. You got any scoop for us?
A little scoop, and then we'll let Scoops Blostein really lay it on thick in about 30 minutes from now. So if we want to talk about the Kyle Morlock recruitment, I think that Christney wrote a column on how FSU has done a great job so far of identifying targets in the transfer portal early, being almost aggressive and then pursuing them, and then closing. This is the 3rd transfer portal commitment they've gotten in about a week now, all at positions of need and all quality, like 4-star recruits per the 24/7 Sports transfer rankings, which are a work in progress because there's like 1,000 guys to rank. But so with Kyle Morlock, so FSU was one of the earlier schools to offer him. Obviously, they got him on campus twice. Like that's where it starts off as being big, right? You get him in for the Florida game, which was a remarkable. We got to see Kev smiling on TV somewhere, I think. So Kev can speak firsthand of how great of an experience that was as a live environment. And so he gets to see that. That's the only game that Kyle Morlock is able to actually see this recruiting cycle as a recruit. So imagine you're going from shorter college, Division II in Rome, Georgia, to all of a sudden Tallahassee with a Florida rivalry game on Black Friday. Like, yes, like that was impactful. But then you get him on campus again for the official visit. And the question then became, could you prevent him from getting onto another campus? Largely Tennessee was always kind of considered the front runner along with FSU. Actually, like a week ago, I had people text me. They thought he would go to outside of the program. Text me. They thought he would be a Tennessee lean, and just that wasn't. FSU staff usually does a pretty good job of having a good, especially on that side of the ball, of having a good grasp like what will happen or what will happen. So the recruitment became interesting, guys, because Deion Sanders emerged fairly late in the process. Tim Brewster, So some names that have FSU fans know very well, maybe all too well in this case, emerged late, got an in-home visit. That was a cause for concern. But ultimately, like I always thought this was a Tennessee FSU battle, even as Illinois and Auburn kind of loomed as distant teams that were still trying to get an official visit. So FSU went in home with Morlock yesterday. Sorry, days are blurring together. It was on Wednesday. Chris Thompson, Mike Norvell went up there. And a few things developed. So at that point, I had heard around that time that the Colorado threat with Deion and Brewster was not indeed a threat. See, the thing that was interesting about this recruitment is Colorado was selling Kyle Morlock on coming to the program and being an immediate, instant plug-and-play starter, being the guy, being part of this major roster overhaul.
Classic Brewster.
Brewster loves his 6'7", lengthier tight ends too. So it made sense that this was a target for them. But that was not the pitch to make to Kyle Morlock. Initially, I think some of the feedback we got was that Kyle would like to be the only tight end that's like added in a recruiting cycle for transfers. But as I think he experienced the process, got to see what it would be like at a Power 5 program, kind of ended up warming up to the idea. And FSU did a really good job during his official visit last week of getting Jaheim Bell with him side by side at the official visit to see that they could have very different skill sets and just size, right? When you look at them different, but also pitching like, hey, Kyle, you don't have to be the guy. You can kind of come along at your own pace, which for a Division II guy, like we talked all offseason about how big of a jump it was going to be for Jared Verse going from the FCS level to Power 5. Like now quantify that to like Division II, which is even bigger. So he warmed up to that. That was huge. That kind of eliminated the Colorado threat. And then the really main other threat was Tennessee. Well, Tennessee's offensive coordinator left to be the USF head coach. That was big. But at that point, I think FSU had done such a good job of really showing a level of professionalism and detail that the Morlock family and Morlock's dad really liked. They were very forthcoming with the family. And really, I think the plan of detailing how they would use Kyle with the rest of their tight ends was super appealing. But maybe more than anything, guys, more than any other program can offer right now. And I'm sure you guys have talked about this. We've written about it on Knowles 24/7. The J-Trav effect of getting him back. That sealed the deal because Tennessee has to replace its quarterback. Colorado, I guess we have a pretty good idea of who their quarterback will be, but that's not a proven commodity like Jordan Travis is. Auburn's figuring it out right now. So as soon as we found out last night that the Auburn official visit, which was planned for Wednesday, was no longer expected to occur. And it was tough to tie down entirely. But as soon as we heard that was the indication, Auburn can confirm he was on campus. That's huge. That was big time. And then Tennessee, word got out today that he was not expected to go. It wasn't like officially Tennessee conceding, but it started to kind of leak out that wasn't likely. And at that point, like, yes, that was the win for Florida State. If you got him to not go to Tennessee, it was TKO. And that's indeed what happened.
The backstories on this stuff are always fascinating to me. I mean, how much really goes on that people just have no clue about. I always find it to be quite enjoyable. Any other little nuggets before we get out of here? Anything that we are not going to steal from Zach?
I'm trying to think. I already stole something from him by accident earlier today with Braden Fisk. So I do feel a little bit bad about that. But
we're not going to give any scoop away. I guess it'll be scoopy of how you feel.
Okay. There we go. That's fine.
Deuce Cypress is a cornerback on campus. Will be on campus for an official visit this weekend.
He is in town already.
Broken by Knowles 24/7. What's your gut feeling? That I don't want to yes they're going to get him or no they're not going to get him. How do you feel about that recruitment?
Let's take it like into percentages. And I think especially with the transfers, you get to look at like this truncated period of time of like how many official visits they're taking, how much time they're spending at a place. And that gives a really good indication of like where they're leaning. Deuce Cypress went to UCLA on an official visit last week. For this week, he was talking about doing 3 different official visits, trying to fit it all in on this really short period of time. But lo and behold, our sourcing is indicating, and Deuce said even the other day to us that he was planning on only taking 1 official visit this week. We confirmed that it was Florida State. So Ohio State, LSU, Auburn, some really big players in most recruitments, whether it's from a NIL perspective or just in general, like Ohio State or LSU or national championship contenders, did not get visits from Deuce Cypress this week. That's big time. If Deuce ends up sticking to a timeline of before, so listeners know, and this gets kind of convoluted and confusing, but Sunday, and if this is supposed to be rapid fire, I'm supposed to go quicker, let me know, please, and I will stop rambling. But for now, I will say that. So you basically go through Sunday, go all the way up to midnight, Monday morning. That is when the dead period starts. That means players cannot go onto campus anymore. It is shut down. For transfers, it opens back up for a very brief window. I think January 4th, I want to say. FSU's classes start right around then, January 4th, maybe January 6th, somewhere in that timeline. So someone like Deuce Cypress, if he wants to make his decision soon, which he might be able to dictate terms a little bit because he is so darn good. But if he does want to make a quick decision, that's really FSU in Virginia, unless just someone, or excuse me,
Yeah.
FSU and UCLA, unless someone just comes through with a crazy NIL opportunity where he doesn't even need to go and visit campus. But for a guy who's a year away from probably playing pro, yeah, so 50-50 would be what you start off with. But I think him and Adam Fuller are gelling right now, and I think I would
Things you
put
don't
like
hear every day.
No, Adam Fuller is doing a really good job with the transfer portal targets. Guys who are a little bit more experienced, that are a little bit more business-like, are
Mhm.
appreciating his very straightforward nature. I don't know if that always resonates with a 16, 17-year-old, but I think for someone who's 22 and knows how close they are to making millions of dollars, it hits a little differently. And so he's done a great job with Fisk and with Cypress. I think if I had to guess right now, I think they get Cypress. I feel pretty good about that. There's a lot that can happen. They have to do well this week, but I think they'll get Cypress.
I like
I
it.
haven't had a chance to watch his film much. Is he a true corner, or is he someone that? Okay.
Yeah,
He is. So I haven't gotten to go super in depth yet either, Kev. But just the metrics, he's out at corner. He's like an island corner. I think he had. I think the passer rating against him this year was in the 40s or 50s for an NFL passer rating. He was really, really good this year. So he is potentially. I think Chris Nee put him as an all ACC caliber.
First team, right?
All. Yep. So Chris really liked him, but no, he's a legitimate potential shutdown corner. He's an NFL caliber corner, potentially a CB1 type.
Yeah, I was thinking that Florida State didn't necessarily need to get a game changer at safety or a game changer at corner, but you needed one of the two.
That makes sense.
Because they just allow you the freedom of using the safety. You can get away with having okay safeties if your corners are locked down, and then you can roll the safeties down to the box and help stop the run game. So, yeah, that would be a really big get. It sounds like.
And with cornerback recruiting for FSU, and AB listening on the bench knows that it could be sometimes kind of a bugaboo for some of my colleagues because they have such an expansive board at cornerback and it doesn't always materialize. But part of the method to that madness is they view it as you can never have too many cornerbacks. Corners and pass rushers on defense, you're fine overloading scholarships towards. Now you want to make sure you're taking quality guys who can help you out. But if the opportunity presents itself to get someone who will be a two-deep player, they will pursue at those positions. And this is a prime example of someone who not only is a two-deep player, but instantly upgrades the room, kind of like a Tatum Bethune was to the linebacker room this year. It makes everyone else takes a little bit of pressure off of them, right? Kalen DeLoach is all of a sudden your number 2 linebacker. Fine, DJ Lundy's your third. Great. It all falls into place, and I think that's what Deuce Cypress would be if you end up landing him.
All right, at this point, because we are about 20 minutes away from 9:00, Brendan, Zach, Trey, they're going to be on the Knowles 24/7 YouTube channel. They're going to be talking about all this stuff. There's a ton of questions in here right now. I want you guys to take them all over there at 9:00. Ask them all those questions because I'm getting off and going to bed. I'm tired.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
Yeah, we're the film guys.
Yeah, we're the film junkies.
Recruiting guys.
We're the film junkies. But just a note, Trey, myself, and Zach will be live on Sunday night like we were this past Sunday. We want to see everybody out there. There were 700 people in there. I'd like to see 1,000 people. We'd love to see 1,000 people in the chat Sunday night, probably around 9:30 again, breaking down the weekend. Do whatever you need to do before that. I know 8:00 there's a little show that goes on. 9:00 9:30 the big boys kick off. Get in there for all the hot information. But for Brendan, for myself, for Kev, we're gonna call it a night. 9:00. Go check them out. Bye-bye.
See you guys in a little bit.